Welcome to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with your host, Austin Davidson and John Keir, talking Steelers all the time. Now, here's Austin and John.
Hello and welcome back to the Stronger Than Steel podcast. My name is John Keir, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Austin Davidson.
Heyo.
It's Season 2, Episode 51. The Steelers are 9-2 after defeating the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. A little bit of a closer game than Steelers fans probably would have liked, Austin, but at the end of the day, it's another win. The Steelers are one step closer to their ultimate preseason goal of obtaining the number one seed in the AFC. But, again, the Steelers don't have a ton of style points doing it. 31-28 final score. What were your quick takeaways from this victory?
This game featured the default from then that we've been accustomed to prior to the season, what we're hoping for from the offense to see it soon. Then the defense is great at getting sacks, especially Hayward, but the rest of the defense has struggled as of late. And then finally, the offensive line played really well this game. Very good bounce-back performance for them. So what were your quick takeaways?
The offense has for sure turned it around with Ben Roethlisberger having thrown the ball a lot more over the last 2 weeks. There's no doubt about it that Ben still has it. The defense, on the other hand, has displayed some troubling trends, and we'll have plenty of time to get to that. But obviously the big plays have been a problem, and the long game-tying touchdown drive late in the game was another concern. We'll get to that again later. Juju Smith-Schuster's emergence in the offense this season, I believe, has had as much to do with Eli Rogers' decline as it did Smith-Schuster's rise. My bold prediction about Bell getting 200 scrimmage yards might have seemed kind of ambitious, but it was kind of close on the matter too. I think this was the game Le'Veon Bell needed to kind of get back onto the right track after having a slow few weeks, so he bounced back in a big way. Let's just get the injury report out of the way, Austin. Only 2 new injuries from Sunday. You can let me know if there have been updates since this point, but Ryan Shazier and Alejandro Villanueva both left the game with ankle injuries. They also both returned. At the same point, Vance McDonald had the same thing happen to his knee a few weeks ago where he returned to the game and hasn't played since, so just temper that. Keep that in mind when you are thinking about these injuries. Do we have any new updates on these guys now that it's late Wednesday night?
No, not that I could see. I haven't. They didn't actually update their page yet, which is surprising. Usually they have the Wednesday injury report up already. Maybe it's because it's Monday. It's a Monday night game next that they're not practicing on a Wednesday. I'm not sure.
Maybe take that extra day off. Perhaps. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, there's, luckily again for the Steelers, not too much going on. Other current injuries that the Steelers have been dealing with. Mike Mitchell played. James Harrison was a full participant but did not play. Juju Smith-Schuster is hoping to return to practice this week. The same goes for Vance McDonald, and Joe Hayden is still expected to be out a couple more weeks. So let's get right into the game, Austin. The Steelers go right down the field. They score a touchdown on their opening drive, but you know, it's kind of interesting. What do you think about that opening drive? There were several drops, and it took a 4th down and 1. Can we also talk about that play call, how often the Steelers have used that kind of inside shovel pass or quick inside pass in the goal line situation, short yardage situations, how often it's worked, and how I feel as though that play call is not getting commended enough, whereas if that play gets stopped, Todd Haley's getting crucified for it.
That shovel pass is really disgusting. We've seen it at least, I think, 4 other times this season. I don't think it's failed yet when it's been used. I think defenses really get thrown off by it. They see he still has the ball, then they immediately think he's going to throw it because the play is developing, and it's been like a second, and then he just tosses it to a guy, and it's almost like it's a handoff, but obviously it's the shovel pass. I really like the shovel pass call on really short situations on the goal line and stuff like that. It's obviously worked. As for the drops, that was the tone of the whole game, to be honest. But for real, it was just really bad with the drops. But in any case, the Killer Bees were firing on all cylinders in this game, and that's all it takes to get the W, and I'll take it. Roethlisberger's had a hot hand the past 2 games, really capitalizing on versus weak pass defense, and mainly attacking them with his main weapon, Antonio Brown. Brown had another huge night here, racking up 10 catches for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as a 2-point conversion. Not to mention he made 2 great catches in this game, which no other receiver on the team could possibly ever make. And just adding to his collection of amazing catches in his career. Bell did great too, though. Bell set a record for most passes caught by Steelers running back at 12 for 88 yards, as well as rushing 20 times for 95 yards. And at the end of the game, it just felt like everything he did was a 10-yard gain. And if not for the fumble, he would have had a near-perfect game. As for everyone that is not a killer bee, I wanted to start with how great the offensive line was here. They really bounced back and performed way better this week, giving up only 1 sack and 2 quarterback hits, making me almost right on my bold prediction of 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits, but they outperformed me. They outperformed my apparent, quote, bold predictions, which I guess wasn't bold enough. But even that sack wasn't because they did bad. They gave Roethlisberger like 3 seconds of a clean pocket, and it was a coverage sack because everyone was locked up. So as a whole, they did great. Now let's get to everyone else. Holy dropped passes, that man, as I mentioned earlier. There are so many dropped passes in this game, including big ones from Bryant, James, and Rodgers. Really made me miss Juju when Ben was throwing absolute darts into the breadbasket and Rodgers was just dropping them. But I guess all in all, they did decently since they each caught 3 or more balls, and Martavis had a touchdown, so I guess it's not absolutely awful. But to wrap it up, I really like the aggressiveness of this unit in this game. Going for the touchdown right at the beginning with Xavier Grimble was exactly what I was hoping to see. Maybe not to Grimble, but it worked nonetheless, so I like seeing the offense fill with fire again. What did you see from the offense in this game?
Well, as far as that play call goes, the inside shovel pass, we've seen it done with Juju Smith-Schuster, Jesse James, Xavier Grimble, and I think we saw it, we may not have seen it with Vance McDonald, but I feel like we've seen it with someone else. We saw it done with Heath Miller in the past, and it's worked, so honestly, as long as anyone, it doesn't matter who's doing it as long as it's working, and it has, so I'd say keep using it. The offense had another pretty good day, Austin. The big talk all season was where's the 30 points a game offense. Well, the last 2 weeks they've put it up. 40 points last week, 31 this week. Another great performance, another key score with the game on the line. And it starts with the quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger, 351 yards on 33 of 45 attempts. 2 interceptions. It's hard to fault him on, it's a little easier to fault him. What do you think about those interceptions? Let's start with the first one. I don't know. I kind of wanted Eli Rogers to fight for it a little bit, but I don't know. Even when he threw that interception, I still kind of felt like, man, Roethlisberger's dealing. I don't feel like he's going to have a bad day.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't. I didn't feel like blaming Roethlisberger for much in this game. I thought he had a really hot hand. Like I said, I thought he was throwing balls almost perfectly for the most part. So I agreed with you. I think Eli Rogers could have made a better attempt at fighting for it and maybe gotten it out of the other guys. I think that was that Blake Martinez or was that Demarius Randall? Demarius Randall.
I was going to say, I think it's Randall, yeah.
Yep. I think he should have made a better attempt against Demarius Randall.
Yeah, he kind of just lost a fight for the ball. The second one, it's harder to fault Ben, although it is a troubling concern to see that many tipped passes. He's had a bunch this season, but that tipped pass nonetheless results in another interception. He was darn near perfect. The worst play I can think him making was the one where he got sacked, and that's not the worst thing in the world either, given the situation. His yards per attempt and completion percentage are getting back to his career norms. His completion percentage, which had been hovering around 60-61%, which was about 3% percentage points lower than his career average, is now only 1 point below his career average now after the last 2 games. So he's played really well the last few weeks. And 4 more touchdowns. He hadn't passed 3 until last week, so now he's had back-to-back with 4. It looks like he's definitely turned it around. Outside of that, the offensive line had a great bounce-back game, as you mentioned, giving up the 1 sack, which wasn't really their fault. Roethlisberger really was not under pressure for the majority of the game. Bell had more holes. Although they weren't there early on, it felt like Bell in the running game got better as the game went on, finishing with 95 yards on 20 carries. Just business as usual. Roethlisberger had 3 carries, I should also mention. It's kind of interesting. Usually, Ben Roethlisberger faces a lot of zone defense because he's better against man, but the Packers threw a lot of man at him, and he decided to take off with it. And on a couple of those runs, he didn't look that bad. And yeah, you don't really want to see him running with the ball at this point in his career, unlike, 2007, 2008, when he still had some wheels. But, I guess in some situations you'll take it. 3 carries for 25 yards, that's a pretty nice average, even if that's not what you're looking for. But I guess the elephant in the room for the offense is Antonio Brown. He could very well be the best player in the NFL. I think you'd have a pretty good argument for calling him the best player in football, Austin.
You know what's funny about that? Sports Poll on Twitter, I don't know if any of you guys follow him. They just do a bunch of sports polls and stuff, and they did who should win. There was an article written as why Antonio Brown should be a wide receiver that wins MVP, and underneath it put who should win MVP this year. Carson Wentz, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, and Antonio Brown. And I expected Wentz to be in first. I voted for Wentz personally because I think Wentz should be MVP, but what surprised me, I thought Antonio Brown would be in third. Antonio Brown beat out Tom Brady in fan votes. He had a higher, but he was in second. He was higher than Tom Brady, and that really impressed me. It just shows how good of a season everyone else thinks he's having and all of that.
Even a week where Julio Jones had an amazing week, it was Antonio Brown's sideline catch that kind of won the day, if you will. I don't even know how you describe this guy. He's just a workaholic, and it's just like every week he makes one catch that's better than the next. He had 2 huge catches last week, and he had 2 more big catches this week. Everyone wants to talk about that sideline catch, and it definitely deserves to be. I can't remember if I told Austin, but I honestly think that might be the best catch I've ever seen. And I can't exaggerate on that. I honestly think that might be one of the best catches, if not the best I've ever seen. When he caught it, I knew he had possession of it, but the question for me was, were his feet in? And I thought instantly, no, there's no way. He was running full speed out of bounds and had such a little amount of time to catch it. He still caught it, and on that first replay, I looked at it and I'm like, wow, he actually caught that ball. I couldn't believe it. And the sad thing is, as great as that catch was, there was another catch that set up, I believe, his touchdown. It might have been Martavis Bryant's touchdown, where he kind of leaps at the 5-yard line and makes a combative catch over, I believe, Morgan Burnett. And that catch is kind of forgotten about almost because of that. Do you remember the play I'm talking about?
Oh, I remember exactly what you're talking about. He did a full extension, had his arms all the way back, and brought it in.
That's a SportsCenter top 10 play, if you ask me. I don't know if it was, but that's what it is, if you ask me. And everyone wants to talk about the sideline catch for sure, but that catch deserves to be recognized as well for sure. Outside of that, everyone else, Bell had a great day through the air. 12 catches for 88 yards, 7.3 yards per catch there. He made some more dynamic plays in the receiving game. Martavis Bryant did have a drop, but I felt like this was his best game. I feel like he's just gotten better and better as he's come back from that 1-game suspension. He also looked good on the kick return, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Jesse James was okay. He dropped a pass. Eli Rogers, although he had 3 catches for 21 yards, really only one good play that I can remember where he caught a 3rd down pass and got chopped down, but he came up with a big catch. But he did drop several other passes, so he struggled. So, all in all, a few things to improve on. Obviously, the drops, not a huge bit of concern considering they put up a ton of points, but at the same point, you want to see them tie up those things up. But you know what? You'll take 31 points. You'll take that kind of performance based on the way the team was performing early on in the first half of the season. On the flip side, Austin, there's a lot we can talk about here. The Steelers' defense, which had been the rock for the team in the first half, the roles have kind of reversed in the early portion of the second half, with the offense taking control and the defense having given up now 3 double explosive plays that are exactly lead. They don't even lead to touchdowns. They are touchdowns. 3 passing touchdowns for Brett Hundley. Another game-tying drive that goes the length of the field given up. The Steelers' defense gave up 28 points to an offense that scored 0 points at home the previous week. What happened here?
I honestly don't know. I was just very, very disappointed in this unit as a whole. Brett Hundley against the Ravens, as you said, was shut out and had 4 turnovers. In this game, they allowed Hundley to look like Aaron Rodgers wasn't even gone. They're giving up 3 touchdowns. And it's become concerning at this point. At first, it wasn't really a problem, but these long plays that haven't been happening all season, they're now here. Like, just listen to all the receivers. All the receivers that caught a ball in this game had a long pass besides one. And it's funny enough, Jordy Nelson is the only receiver that didn't have one, which is just so weird to say because he's regarded as one of the best receivers in the league. But Adams had a 55-yard catch. Jamal Williams had a 54-yard catch. Randall Cobb had a 39-yard catch. Richard Rodgers had a 25-yard catch. Like, that's just awful. That's not good. It's a very, very bad habit that's happening. And the first 3 went for touchdowns. They were super long touchdowns that shouldn't have happened if the tackle was just made or if someone was on their man. There's just so much wrong. I mean, I'll go over some good. The rush defense was okay. The rush defense did pretty decently. Jamal Williams had 21 carries for 66 yards. It's like a 3.1 average, so that's not very good. And they kept Brett Hundley sort of contained. He only had 1 rush for 6 yards. But still, I don't know. I was just really unhappy with the big plays happening. And just all the missed tackles that keep happening and the blown coverages. It's getting tiring. Like, this defense started off so well. And they fixed what was wrong with the rush defense. Because in the beginning of the year, that was the complaint. The complaint was the Steelers keep getting gassed up by the run. They can't stop the run. They fixed that, and then I guess teams are like, all right, so we can't run, we'll just pass. And now the pass defense is broken. It's super frustrating. And thinking that 2 things being broken at the same time, the offense and defense seems to not be able to ever fire at the same time, ever be right on cue. The Titans game was the only game that they might have been both on track at the same time. And it's just really frustrating because I want both units to be great at the same time. It feels like this team could be something amazing. This team can be the team that goes to the Super Bowl and wins against Wentz or against Breeze or against
anybody.
Against Keenum. Yeah, anybody. It doesn't matter. But they're playing like garbage. They're going to get tossed up by Tom Brady. They're going to be darted apart by Wentz if they even get to the Super Bowl. Like, this team cannot survive they're a Super Bowl contender, but as of right now, that's it. That might be it. They might only be an AFC Championship contender again, because this team is not one meant to handle Tom Brady at the moment if they keep playing like they're playing. And I guess that's really it. I kind of went off on a rant about more league-wide stuff, but anything else about the defense? I think that really wraps it up for me. There's just those missed tackles and big plays really messed up. Oh, I do have to commend a little bit more. Mike Hilton is awesome, and Cameron Hayward got another 2 sacks in this game, and he is a beast. T.J. Watt also got a sack after 1, and L.T. Walton, I think.
Yes, he did.
Okay, yeah. I know he got one. I think that's his season high. I think that's 2, right? 2.
Well, yeah, he his one, I believe it was last week. That was his first career sack, I think.
Really? Okay, yeah. So he's still setting records for himself. So that was good. I mean, L.T. Walton's and T.J. Watt's weren't pretty. They weren't the nicest sacks. They didn't come shooting through gas or anything. It was more Hundley held on for the ball too much. But I mean, still sacks nonetheless. And it's the pass rush. While might not be constantly getting pressure, they are getting sacks very often. So that's something to appreciate.
You know what is good?
Do you have anything?
You know what you can analyze about each of those sacks? First of all, the one on Watt should have been a penalty. I'm sure you'll agree with me.
Yeah, I think it should have been.
That was a pretty blatant missed call, and the Steelers got away with one there. The second thing is L.T. Walton. Isn't this like the 4th or 5th time he's not bid on that fake, and all of a sudden the quarterback turns around and L.T. Walton's running right at him?
I feel like it happened quite a bunch, so you're right.
LT Walton might never be anything more than a backup, but you can say at least for this year, he doesn't bite on fakes, and that's kind of crazy to see because, everyone expects the backup to bite on the fake, but there he is right there. So very, very good on him for that. But you know what, Austin, let's take a step back for a second. I'm going to have to ask you to get a calculator or be ready to do some math in a moment here because I want to analyze these explosive plays that the Steelers gave up. But first and foremost, let's think about this. Let's think about this for a second. The Green Bay Packers were 5-5 going into this game. The division pretty much all but lost after Thanksgiving with the Vikings way out in front. They do expect Aaron Rodgers to come back at some point soon, correct? Potentially.
I think so now. I think they were talking about how they regretted putting him on IR just today.
Well, prior to the game, I mean. He was throwing passes pre-game.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So the Packers are still in the thick. We're still in the thick of things in the NFC playoffs. They had just gotten demolished at home, and I don't think they had been shut out at home since like the 80s or something like that. But the point is, the Packers were a desperate team. They were pissed off. They'd gotten shut out at home. This was a desperate football team that needed to win a game. I'm not saying that excuses the Steelers playing down to their opponent again, but I think expecting the Packers to play like garbage again would have been foolhardy, which is why we both predicted the Packers plus 14 in our final score predictions, and we ended up being correct in that. So I just wanted to say that right away. You're not going to beat a team 31-0 just because they lost 23-0 the previous week, So I just wanted to say that first. But beyond that, there is a trend now, and there's been a trend for a long time. By the way, I think we all appreciated the way Joe Hayden's played this year. I think the last couple weeks, can we say that he's really missed a lot?
Oh, completely. Watching Cody Sensabaugh's not good. He can't tackle. He can't tackle whatsoever.
Now, he's not awful in coverage, but if you're going to give up one big play a game, I suppose you can live with that, but then get him on the ground. And that's where we'll get to in a second. But let's start with that first touchdown. So I think it's pretty clear. I even tweeted on the play to kind of give Artie a little break for a second. I said that's either on Mitchell or Burns. But let's look back at that play. That was a, 54-yard pass?
That was the one to Randall
Cobb,
so that
39.
Was 39.
Okay. I'm trying to pull up the play now because I want to watch it again. But I think on that play, when you just look at it a few times, it's as simple as Burns doing the wrong thing, which it's a trend for him. Like, how many times is this going to happen? This is why now we ripped the Steelers all offseason. This is, why didn't they play more man coverage? Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Why'd they keep such a simple defense against the Patriots in the AFC Championship game? Well, Austin, the last few weeks have shown us why. And you can tell us, anybody from Steelers Nation can tell us, it's because he apparently just he's prone to these mental breakdowns. And I keep trying to find the play here. But I mean, like, I don't know, it's just like, it's so frustrating. You wonder, basically, here's all I have to say about it. He's got to start paying more attention to detail. It's as simple as it is. That's really all I really have to say about it. But like, I finally found the play. Oh, and an advertisement's playing. But you've seen the play. What do you think about it?
Yeah, this isn't like the first time that this has been talked about either. Artie Burns, they came out right after that. Artie Burns can't handle like more complicated playbooks. Like, he's struggling to understand what his assignment is and stuff. And we knew this. There were reports coming out of this. I guess we just I chose to ignore it. I thought, oh no, that's stupid. He's a professional football player. That should be the least of his problems. Apparently it's not. And that seems kind of stupid. But from the play, what I actually saw, Artie Burns went after the post, which didn't make sense to me. All he had to do was stay with the guy that was coming at him on
Austin,
the street, Randall Cobb.
If I may cut in real quick, I'm looking at the replay. It looks as at least the Steelers, safety and two cornerbacks, looks like the Steelers were in cover 3, and Artie Burns thought it was man coverage because he stayed stuck to his man, which I believe was Jordy Nelson. The wheel route underneath came open, and Randall Cobb, and had Burns been playing the cover 3 as he should have been, that he would have been there. So it seems like everyone else was in cover 3 and Artie was in man-to-man.
Oh, that's so stupid that he can't just understand the play. Like that might be just a communication error that he didn't understand what was actually called as the defensive play. I don't understand it. I really don't.
Point is, he needs to pay more attention, and kind of conversely, where the offense, it's going to be quiet at home and loud on the road, it's going to be the opposite for the defense, because the team wants to be loud, or the fans want to be loud, and on the road they'll be quiet. So maybe you hope this is something he can correct. Maybe it's a crowd noise issue, but regardless, Burns needs to get something fixed and fast, and you know the Steelers coaching staff is going to be working with him on it this week. Second touchdown, Austin, it's the dump off to Jamal Williams. And, you know, Chris Collinsworth talked about Ryan Shazier on that play, and that's true. He didn't make a great play on it, but the one that, or I guess the players that really bothered me on this, when I think you'll agree upon further inspection, are the safeties, Mike Mitchell and Sean Davis. Sean Davis completely they both did. They both completely run past where Jamal Williams is when he catches that ball. What are they doing?
I'd honestly like to know the same question, because Sean Davis literally just ran behind him. I guess he didn't see him. I guess he lost track of where he was. I honestly can't say I saw where Mike Mitchell was on that play. I only saw Shazier and Sean Davis. I saw Sean Davis immediately, because I saw him dart. I thought he was going to make the tackle, and he just darted behind Jamal Williams. I'm like, okay, but just not good. Everyone's looking confused out there. A play happened, and it's just the defense looks confused. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me.
The silver lining, at least on these first two plays, is that these are mental mistakes and they're easy to correct as opposed to physical mistakes. I'm watching the replay now, Austin, and David. I feel like Davis just didn't see where the ball was, because he runs in there fast, and then he kind of slows down. Wait a minute, what's going on? Mitchell does the same thing, but I feel like he just took a bad angle of pursuit. I'm watching the kind of Madden cam. You know, it's weird. It's like they both just lost him. He almost disappeared. Very strange for sure. The last play, Devontae Adams beats Cody Sensabaugh on a double move. You know, he's a backup. I guess he's going to get beaten by those moves every now and then. And the big problem here is Mitchell and, the safeties, not just Mitchell, Golden from last week. They've been struggling to make the tackle. It's a trend now. Him and Sensabaugh don't get Adams down. It's one thing to give up the big play. It's another when you give up the touchdowns by not making the tackle. And I think that's the part that's most frustrating.
I honestly hated that play. Watching that play unfold was so annoying. It's become a fear for me now. Watching a deep ball like that, once you get to the safeties, I'm like, are they going to miss the tackle? They're probably going to miss the tackle, because this is what we're seeing as of late. This isn't new. The safeties and the corners just are unable to. Once they get beat, they're beat. It's over. As soon as they get a move put on them, they can't recover, and that's what happens. It's not even like Devontae Adams just broke his ankle. No, Devontae Adams ran in a straight line to the post, it's not the route. I mean, just towards the field goal post, if you know what I mean. And that was enough to throw Mitchell off, that he missed the tackle. And then Cody Sensabaugh just was already beat. It was he had to somehow accelerate to catch up to him. It was up to Mitchell to really make that tackle after Sensabaugh was bad in coverage. So it's just, but I mean, Sensabaugh did make it back and just missed another tackle. I'm sick of seeing these big plays, man. These big plays on passing defense and just giving up because someone can't make a tackle, because the safety help isn't helping. They're there, and it's they could have just stayed off to the side and would have done nothing. Because let's be honest here, Mitchell did nothing. Mitchell just literally just watched as it happened, because he couldn't make a tackle on a guy running a diagonal line. So that's that play I think bothered me the most out of any any of the three big touchdowns given up.
I agree.
It's pretty close with Jamal Williams one, but I think that one takes it because I've been mad at the safeties and the corners for a while now.
And yeah, and on top of that, the other guys are paid to make plays, but at the same point, the first two are mental mistakes, so it's like, you know what, those can be corrected. The physical ones where it's like these guys have been tackling for years. Come on, you're better than that. Beyond that, Austin, it was a pretty good day for the special teams. Not all round, but we can move on from the atrocities that the defense committed on themselves on Sunday, and we can talk about the special teams. So let's start with the obvious one. Chris Boswell, despite missing a PAT, he kicked what is tied for the longest kick in Heinz Field's history, which is a notoriously difficult place to kick. Easier now than it ever used to be, but still, 53 is not a very long career long for a stadium. And it was also Chris Boswell's career long for the win, no less, in November after Thanksgiving. So Boswell, I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer or anything, but that was a huge kick for sure. I didn't think he was going to make it. I thought he was going to probably have it right about where it should have been between the goalposts, but I figured he wouldn't have had enough leg for it, but he did. I was surprised. And he cleared it by like 5 yards, too. That was impressive.
Yeah, honestly, Ben made it harder on him because right before that play, they obviously threw for the negative 2-yard pass to Le'Veon Bell. And I was, so mad about that. And I was like, oh, no. It was already a 51-yarder. And the longest he hit this season was 51 yards. And now we're in Heinz Field. This is not good. I was winding up and getting nervous. I'm like, all right, let's see what this happens. I'm looking at the screen. I watch it. I'm like, I was just... immediately, I was like, I wish I was there to just pick him up on my shoulders because that dude came in clutch when it mattered. As we said, he missed the PAT, but as it turned out, it didn't matter because Antonio Brown caught a 2-point to tie it up. So it would have been the same score regardless of if he hit the PAT or not. And he made it the clutchest kick of the year for him, definitely. This was easily the most clutch kick, probably of his career now, because that was his career long, right?
Yes, yes it was.
Yep. And that was an amazing way to finish out the game. For a second, I forgot how the game really went over, and I forgot that the Packers were not that good, and it just felt like a good win after that. But other than that, I was really upset that the Antonio Brown punt return, I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. It was a really nice punt return, and it got taken away because of a flag. And I was because I was so excited. I saw Antonio Brown. It looked like he had a lot of room to run. I think it was like a 20-yard return or so, and then they called it back. So he finished only with 3 returns for 9 yards. But I mean, I guess it's still better. He returned 3 balls. I mean, one went for 7, so the other 2 went for 1, but still something.
I think that play was the one Fitzgerald, Toussaint, and Chickalo got called for flags. One of them got flagged, and I felt like the other should have. But
I can't remember, to be honest. I couldn't even remember what the flag was.
Beyond that, nothing too much going on for the return game. Martavis Bryant, boy, he started the game well. Coming out of nowhere, Martavis Bryant starts returning kicks, replacing Juju Smith-Schuster, and he returns it for the longest kick return of the year, 38 yards. And you know what? I gotta be honest with you, the Steelers' best kick returner as far as average yards per return on kick returns was Sammy Coates. Maybe the Steelers have a little method to their madness right now. Maybe that's the answer, is just someone with straight line speed. The holes close up quickly on those kick returns. Maybe just get as much as you can. So as long as Bryant is just, doing what he does best, running fast, I'd just keep him back there. There's no reason not to. He's better than Fitzgerald Toussaint is.
I feel like I'm slightly worried only because I feel like Martavis Bryant has a fumbling problem, or at least he has had one in the past. He doesn't seem to hold on to the ball very well, so that kind of freaks me out about him doing returns. But other than that, he looked electric on that opening one. He came out, burst out, got to the sideline, and had so much straight line speed, like you said, and it was really fun to watch.
It's funny that you mentioned the potential fumbling problem. It also makes me a little nervous, too. So we'll have to see how that turns out, because a kick returner is a little bit different than a wide receiver, but, time will tell for that. Jordan Berry had a pretty disappointing day as far as his average yards per punt. He had 3 punts down inside the 20, but he only averaged 32.3 yards a kick. That's just not going to get it done. Point and blank. There was one that was downed at the 18, or fair caught at the 18-yard line, where it could have easily gone, I think, another 10-ish yards, because he pooched it, but it should have gone a lot closer to the goal line. Like, it's in the 20, but it was at the 18, and it felt like a 20-yard punt to me.
Yeah, I remember that one. They didn't punt from very far at all, and he just didn't put enough leg into it. It sucked. That's just to say the least.
Yeah, it's for sure. Not the best day for Jordan Berry. You'll take the 3 punts down in the 20-yard line, but that's just not going to cut it. So, all right. We'll be moving on from that now. Let's go to our awards section. I'll open with the Stronger Than Steel Big Stop of the Week. For the second week in a row, it's going to be Cameron Hayward for me, Austin. I don't know if you remember the situation, but we talked about that L.T. Walton sack. It was 1st and 10. The Packers had just picked off Ben Roethlisberger for the second time, up 21-14 in the third quarter. And the Packers had a chance to add on to that. And they were facing a 1st and 10, first a sack by L.T. Walton, an incomplete pass. 3rd and 15 from the Steelers' 36. And Cameron Hayward brings down Brett Hundley for a loss of 3 yards, and it sets up a Mason Crosby 57-yard field goal, which he shanks. The Steelers take over and tie the game on the following possession. I feel like if the Packers had converted or even scored a few more points at that point, the Steelers might not be able to come back from that. I think that was a huge sack. Missed field goal leading to a touchdown the other way. The Steelers were right back in it. As soon as Crosby missed that field goal and the Steelers were going down the field on the following drive, I was fully confident the Steelers were going to win this game. And it's all because of Hayward's sack. So congratulations to Cameron Hayward for the second week in a row on winning the Stronger Than Steel Big Stop of the Week. So Austin, who is the Stronger Than Steel Player of the Week?
Before I just say that, he also won AFC Defensive Player of the Week. So if Stronger Than Steel Big Stop of the Week wasn't enough, he was, as a whole, regarded as the best defensive player of the week this week in the whole NFL. So second week in a row, or not in a row, but second week this year, which I believe you tweeted on our Twitter account at @Stronger_Steel. Did you not? I did. It's the second. Oh, I can't remember the stat. I don't want to butcher this. Well, I know it was at least the second since 2010, because that was the last time it happened. Yeah, because Troy Polamalu is the only. I think it's since 2000. Troy Polamalu is the only Steelers player to get it twice in a year. So I think that was it. But moving on to the Stronger Than Steel Player of the Week, it's not quite December yet, but it sure feels like it when. With Ben playing the way he's played the past 2 games. In this game specifically, he was making throws, great, accurate throws. He had a perfect passer rating when throwing deep in this game. When coming into this game, his rating was just a 52.8. So, for his 33 completions on 45 attempts, which may I add quickly that a lot of his incompletions were due to drops, if you didn't get that already. 351 yards and 4 touchdowns. And additionally, 3 rushes for 25 yards. Ben wins my Stronger Than Steel Player of the Week. And yes, I know Antonio Brown probably had the better performance, but I just felt like watching Ben. His throws were amazing; they were on point. And people talk about Antonio Brown's catch, but that might have been Roethlisberger's best throw of the year. So it couldn't have happened without him putting that right where he knew Antonio Brown could get it. So I'm going to go against what probably most people would take, and I'm going to pick Ben Roethlisberger for this week. So congratulations to him. So let's hear the play of the game, the Stronger Than Steel play of the game. You take it away, Austin. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? Oh, yeah. As I just mentioned, it's all Antonio Brown. Like, Antonio Brown's catch on the sideline was amazing. I don't think either of us at first thought that was a clean an actual catch because of the sideline. We thought he was out. He was moving he was going full speed towards the sideline. It looked like he caught it, but it looked like he caught it out of bounds. But nope, Antonio Brown's amazing and is able to drag his feet. There's a reason he's called Tony Toe Tap, because he's just amazing on the sidelines, man. Just amazing. So for Antonio Brown's huge catch to set up the Chris Boswell field goal that I'm sorry, it didn't exactly set up, but it helped set up the Chris Boswell field goal. Antonio Brown's catch wins Stronger Than Steel play of the game.
Well, it definitely was the key play on that winning drive. To top it off, he just caught another 14-yard pass on the next play. But beyond that, Austin, there was a lot of impressive things on the offensive side, not as much on the defensive side. So what did you find on this one?
My first one is Chris Hubbard. I think this is my second time making the guy that impressed. It's just he's staying there. He stepped up big filling in for Gilbert and didn't miss a single beat. Only one sack was given up, and it wasn't from his side. So he did great in my eyes. It's just whenever a backup has to fill in for a starter, especially a good starter, it's always worrisome and it's always a big deal. There's a lot of pressure on that guy. And Chris Hubbard I felt like the beginning of the year, at first he was a little bit not ready for it. I think he's grown into the role. Like, Chris Hubbard, I think, can be a starter on another team. And I think I said this in the week before. I want to check his contract.
It's up at the end of the year.
He's up at the end of the year. Oh, he's leaving. He is so leaving. Jesus, that sucks. But yeah, he's gonna be a starter next year somewhere else. In my mind, I think he could do it. And then, so who impressed you on offense?
Beyond that, I just want to comment quickly. Hubbard's definitely leaving. He'd be crazy to stay here. You're right, he is a starter somewhere else. Good news to point out that it looks like Gerald Hawkins has surpassed Matt Filer on the depth chart, and for the time being, while Gilbert's out, he is the sixth offensive lineman when they run with that extra tackle there. So that's a good sign for the Steelers right now. Who impressed me? It was Le'Veon Bell. And yeah, that fumble was really untimely, but it didn't come back to hurt the Steelers. I want to note him. He did a good job in the running game. He got better as the game went along, but nowhere was he more impactful than in the passing game. And that's something that, Austin, you and I have harped on him for this year, especially at times. And, it was just, I don't know. It felt like he was just different in this game. It felt like he was making people miss. I think it was a second and long, or I think it was like a second and like 18 something, second and 15 something, and he got like 8 yards, and he got like there was contact made after 3 yards, and he just kept going and going. He just felt like a difference maker in the passing game today, and then consistency out of the running game. I felt like he was great today, on Sunday. So he impressed me on offense. And defense, it's just Cameron Hayward. He continues to be, in my opinion, the Steelers' best defensive player, and his story continues to get better. He's going to be one of the best Steelers defensive linemen of all time when he retires. He might not be a Hall of Fame level player. He should be a Pro Bowler this year. Because of his position, he might not be. That's unfortunate. He's playing at an amazing level. Conversely, who disappointed you this week?
Before I say disappointed, I want to give my other person who impressed me on defense. I'm sorry, I forgot to give them. Mike Hilton impressed me. I don't think he'll ever stop impressing me. I'm not even going to go on about it because I think he was literally the guy that impressed me last week just because I love talking about him. So I'll go straight into disappointed. Easily for me, it was Rodgers. He had 7 targets and he only caught 3 of them. This was a game where Ben was throwing as accurately as ever, so this wasn't just bad throws. This was Eli Rodgers' inability to make catches. Even when Roethlisberger placed the ball perfectly for him, he still couldn't catch it. It just makes you happy that the Steelers drafted Juju with how Rodgers and Bryan have performed all season. And it feels weird saying that because I know you go back like 40 podcasts ago, or I think it's actually probably closer to 30, and I'm pissed that the Steelers drafted a wide receiver in round 2, and now it makes sense and I look stupid. But I'm thankful for Juju, and I'm thankful that the Steelers knew what's best for their organization better than I did. Then the safeties disappointed as well. Both made an awful attempt at a tackle that led to a touchdown each. and Mitchell was involved in both of them, but both not being completely their fault, but I think as a whole they didn't do well this game. The big one was Mike Mitchell missing the touchdown pass to Devontae Adams where he whiffed on the tackle completely. And then Sean Davis' big miss was on Jamal Williams' screen pass touchdown where he literally just ran right past him. Just not a good day for the safeties in the backfield. So who disappointed you?
Sorry, I jumped the gun on the Mike Hilton there. I apologize. But as far as who disappointed me, look, it's Artie Burns. Until he gets this problem fixed, it's just he's going to be picked on. And he's got to figure it out, and he's got to figure it out fast. So not much more to say. We've already covered it. Beyond that, Justin Hunter disappointed me. He got one play, he got one chance, and as is typical with Justin Hunter, he did not make the play. I feel like he'll make a play 1 out of every 3 chances you give him, and I know that's a tough catch, but if you want to see the lineup a little more, Hunter has to make that play, and he didn't make the catch. So if the Steelers don't score a touchdown on that drive, I think that's the play you look at and say he should have made that catch. Beyond that, Austin, is there anything else you wanted to talk about with this particular game?
No, I think we're good.
All right. A couple more things to get to. First, we talked a little bit about this, but in the grand scheme of things, or just in this game, I guess, did it bother you more that the Steelers gave up those 3 big plays, or did giving up the game-tying touchdown drive bother you more?
3 big plays. That's just getting frustrating for me to see it week by week. It's, as you said, mental errors, and it should be being fixed in practice, but it's not. So that's more frustrating to me than the last drive. How about for you?
At first, I wanted to agree with you, but think about this for a second. Why is the Steelers' 2008 defense not often mentioned with the 2000 Ravens, the 85 Bears, any of the 70s Steelers defenses in the national media? Do you know why?
Why?
Because in the biggest moment, they failed. That being the second to last drive in Super Bowl 43 that they had. They gave up a 64-yard touchdown pass to Larry Fitzgerald, which put the Cardinals ahead. Now, the Steelers won the Super Bowl, but the Steelers' defense had given up 300-plus total yards in a game only 3 times the entire season. They played, 19 games? And it happened 3 times. And 2 of them happened in the playoffs. So I guess the point I'm trying to make specifically is about how you finish, and specifically in games, it's how you finish. You can definitely make the argument that the Steelers wouldn't have had to have a game-winning, stop on defense had they not given up those big plays. And you're right, they probably would not have. I didn't even get to what I wanted to talk about. Real quickly, Austin, let me get to the stats. Are you ready with your calculator? I never asked you about this.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I had the calculator open. Yeah, I had the calculator open.
Okay. Subtract from 245, the number 55. Let me know when you're done. Now, subtract 54.
Okay.
Now 39.
Okay.
And now 25.
Okay.
Okay. So Brett Hundley dropped back 31 times in this game. He had 26 passes, 4 sacks, and 1 rush, which was a broken play. So on 31 dropbacks, he threw 26 passes. So he completed 17. So take away those 4. So if you take away those 4 plays, he has 27 dropbacks, 22 throws, and 13 completions for a grand total of how many yards?
72.
72 yards, Austin. I know I was just beating the drum on the game-winning drive, but they're both very valid points. What is the key in giving up those big plays if you don't give them up? That's the difference right there. 72 yards against. Thank you, Austin. I just wanted to go through that a little bit. I'm not a math major by any means, but I think that's something that people would be interested to know.
Yeah. Not many yards besides those big plays. If those big plays don't happen, Brett Hundley isn't really dicing up the defense.
And if those big plays don't happen, we're talking about a completely different game. We're talking 31-10, 31-0, But beyond that, the Steelers have been throwing the ball a lot more the last 2 weeks, Austin. are we actually starting to see a morph in the Steelers' offense, kind of the opposite of last year, where they went from that pass-happy offense to the ground and pound, and now we're kind of seeing the opposite here? Or is this just kind of the last 2 weeks?
I honestly think they're just going game by game here and doing the right thing, attacking the opponent's weaknesses. Past 2 games, the opponents had way better rush defense than they did pass defense, as shown by Ben and Antonio carving them out. So I don't think the offense is changing to the pass-happy maniacs they were in the 2014 season. Bell is still the leading rusher in the NFL and probably the best back in the league. So I can't see the Steelers abandoning the run just like that. But what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I tend to agree with you, but at the same time, it's nice to see Ben Roethlisberger throwing the ball as well as he has been throwing it. I think the Steelers are going to start throwing it more, but I think the ultimate goal is balance, and I think we'll see a good mix of run and pass going forward. Beyond that, Austin, we'll get to the other action in the NFL in Week 12, but Week 13 will start tomorrow. The Redskins are at the Cowboys, key divisional game, 2 teams in the thick of the wild card race for the NFC. The Redskins got a win on Thanksgiving rather unimpressively. The Cowboys got crushed in the Snooze Bowl on Thanksgiving against the Chargers and look lost right now. Which team is going to be a step away from being basically out of it?
I think the Cowboys are going to be out of it. Redskins win outright in this game. Cowboys are favored by 2.5 somehow. I don't know. I think the Cowboys, without Zeke, Dak's been exposed. He's being exposed that he needs the people around him to be good. I thought the first game was a fluke, but that second game was just bad. So I think Dak isn't that good. I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to really push that. So Redskins win outright. Who do you think is going to win this game?
I got the same thing. Look, it's just, the Cowboys haven't shown anything to me. The Redskins haven't shown much, but they've showed enough. So that's why I'll take them to win. All right, so before we get to some NFL news, let's just look around the league. Go back to our pick'em section right there. I'm pulling up the scores right now. My apologies. So week 12 in the NFL just concluded, so we already know what happened on Thanksgiving a while ago. The Vikings defeated the Lions 30-23. That looked like it might have been a close game, or might have been a closer game than it really was. The Lions made a comeback, but the Vikings were in control for most of that game. Although I was disappointed, I thought the Lions could have made it a little bit closer, but they did not. So Austin was right. The Vikings did cover there. Any other thoughts on that game?
That was scary for Matt Stafford. I thought Matt Stafford was out for the year. I seriously thought that he tore his ACL. So it's good for him that he didn't. But also, I was surprised. I didn't realize how good the Lions were on Thanksgiving. The stats popped up for that game and how Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson are like the best duo on Thanksgiving ever, and just how Matt Stafford's always been amazing. I actually wanted to switch my pick, but I'm glad I didn't. Vikings came out on top.
One of the strange days this year where Matthew Stafford didn't have his best game, and he paid for it. And luckily he is okay. But Case Keenum proved to me that he's actually a much more solid quarterback than I thought he was. Chargers and Cowboys. The Chargers crushed the hapless Cowboys. I was correct in assuming the Cowboys would be flat again. Austin was not in picking the Cowboys to win outright. Just nothing there on the offense for the Cowboys.
Nope, I don't even have anything to add. Just Cowboys are bad. Dak is being exposed as we speak.
Another bad game, Giants at Redskins. Redskins covered. We both got that, but it was not a fun game to watch at all. I don't even want to talk about it. Can we just move on?
Yep.
Buccaneers at Falcons. I mistakenly chose the Buccaneers plus 9.5. Austin took the Falcons to cover. The Falcons won. What was the final score? 34-20. The Bucs are bad. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, the Bucs are very, very bad. So, and the Falcons look okay. And Mohamed Sanu threw a 50-yard pass to Julio Jones, and he is the best. He's the best thrower in NFL history. He's 6 for a ridiculous amount of yards on every throw he's made. He was a high school quarterback, and it's just impressive to me every time it happens. It's only happened 6 times. It's freaking phenomenal every single time.
Bengals and Browns, another unimpressive performance for the Browns, who were officially eliminated from playoff contention by losing their 11th game of the season. We both picked the Bengals to cover because the Browns are terrible, and there's nothing more to add there. Steelers see the Bengals on Monday night, by the way. Titans at Colts. The Colts kept it close, but the Titans did just barely win and barely covered me and my pick there. Austin just missed out on getting another one right there. Final score in that one, 20-16, another snooze bowl there. Bills at Chiefs. We were both wrong. The Bills won outright at Arrowhead. The Chiefs are in serious trouble. Man, they might not make the playoffs after being the last undefeated team in football. How crazy would that be?
It's same. I've been saying it. They're the Vikings of this year. Vikings of last year, this year. Vikings started out 6-0. Were the hottest team. I don't think they were the last team to be undefeated, but they're just doing just as poorly. And I'm just looking at that Week 15 matchup. It's a Saturday game. It's the LA Chargers versus Kansas City, and the LA Chargers right now are only a game back. They're 5-6, and Kansas City is 6-5. So that might win that division. I mean, there's obviously 2 more weeks to go after that, but the winner of that, whoever wins that, might be the winner of the division, especially with Kansas City ultimately imploding. And I think it'd be fun for the Chargers to make it into the playoffs. I would like to see that. Phillip Rivers has been hot lately. And I know I made this about the Chargers. I like the Chargers team. I like watching them when the Steelers aren't on.
Keep in mind that the Chargers started 0-4 this year as well. Next game, Dolphins and Patriots. Another boring game. The Patriots just barely covered, but they did cover. The Dolphins suck. Nothing more to add. Week 15, still waiting for that game with the Steelers. Panthers at Jets. Carolina was a 4.5-point favorite and covered convincingly. I think it's time to give up on the Jets, Austin. They were more competitive than they should have been, but they are fading away.
Yep, they just completely... They can't do anything right. They couldn't just tank to get a quarterback correctly. They had to go 7-9 and get that middle-of-the-round pick instead of doing good or just doing bad. They just Jets it. They just pull the Jets. There you go.
Coach on the hot seat, John Fox, for sure, after getting blown out by the Eagles. That is not a good football team, and the Eagles showed why.
That was ugly. I don't even have anything to add about it. I thought the Bears' defense was going to perform better. I was wrong.
Seahawks at 49ers. We saw the first look of Jimmy Garoppolo, who threw a touchdown in his very brief appearance. Will be getting his first first Niners start this upcoming week. But the Seahawks did cover rather unimpressively, I should say. But the Niners didn't have a quarterback, and now they might. So that was really all I had to say. Is there anything you wanted to say?
Nope.
All right. Broncos at Raiders. The Broncos suck. And the Raiders covered, again, rather unimpressively. Another unimpressive game. Probably one of the best games of the week, Saints at Rams. We both picked the Saints to win outright because we saw the way the Vikings handled the Rams last week, but the Rams came back at home and stormed the Saints. Not a crushing win, but also a pretty impressive one at the same time for the Rams, who won 26-20. Alvin Kamara is a big-time player, though. I do have to say that.
He is challenging Kareem Hunt for Offensive Player of the Year. I thought this was Kareem Hunt with no doubt, no question. But Kareem Hunt is just gone. He's disappeared. And now Alvin Kamara has just gotten better and better. He is so elusive. He is such a dirty pass catcher. I think if you looked at his stats, you'd probably think he was a receiver rather than a running back because just how many yards he gets from catches. I love Alvin Kamara, man. He is just so fun to watch.
Jaguars at Cardinals. The Jaguars finally did what we thought they were going to do long ago. They did something disappointing. In losing to the Cardinals, the Blake Bortles not only threw an interception, but it came off the heels of their former first-round draft pick, Blaine Gabbert's interception, And the battle of disappointing first-round Jaguars quarterbacks goes to the former in Blaine Gabbert, who down the Jaguars. Yikes.
Yeah, that was gross. I was about to do the same thing, but it was just a bad game overall. I had no hope for Blaine Gabbert. I don't understand what happened. I think that was the most surprising game of the week out of everything. But that actually really helped the Steelers. That moved the Jaguars a game back because the Jaguars were actually catching up they were 7-3 going into that. Now they're 7-4.
Yeah, and the Jaguars had a really easy schedule going forward. I mean, this is what they have left. They have the Colts, the Seahawks, which will be tough, the Texans, the Niners, and the Titans. They have 2 tough games left, so that was definitely a big help for the Steelers. Last game, Texans and Ravens. The Ravens just barely won by 7, so Austin just snuck under the Texans +7. I did not get that. Steelers and Ravens will be playing in 2 weeks. We will be at that game. Also, we both got the Packers +14 correct with our predictions. So, not a bad week for both of us. We had a pretty solid week. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on around the NFL. I think the big thing that's being discussed right now is the fact that Eli Manning, the Iron Man streak, the Giants quarterback, potential future Hall of Famer, benched for not the first round, or not first round, but not the draft pick, Davis Webb, benched for Geno Smith. Why? Why, Austin? Why?
I think Ben McAdoo is just trying to get fired as soon as possible. I don't know. I saw that and I immediately felt bad. I felt awful. Like I felt bad for Giants fans. I felt bad for Eli Manning. I thought that was just disrespectful to people who are already not having a good season. Like, they just wanted to add on top of it just to say, hey, I really want to get fired quicker.
I mean, geez. I feel like Tom Brady... let me think about this for a second. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, David Ortiz, all those guys could walk into a New York bar and they still would not be hated as much today as Ben McAdoo. Let's put it that way. I think that's how much Giants fans are displeased with him. My roommate expressed such displeasure weeks ago with the way he had coached the team, and I have to imagine this is not the way people want it to be handled. It'd be one thing if it's Davis Webb, the rookie, but I still think, I know it's not really about winning games now, but if you want to evaluate talent, everyone knows what Geno Smith is. He's not a real NFL quarterback. Davis Webb could be. Why not play Davis Webb if you're going to do that? If you're going to bench Eli, why not keep his streak alive? Yeah, sure, it's the whole evaluation thing, but then again, there's no reason to play no reason at all to play Geno Smith. That's disgusting. I'm sorry, but he's not an NFL quarterback. There's no reason to me why Eli Manning shouldn't be playing these final few games. Even if, I don't know if Davis Webb is ready for it, and maybe that's why he's not playing. But there's no reason to start Geno Smith. Eli Manning is not the problem for the Giants right now. It's the coach, and it's the rest of the team, honestly. The defense wasn't good for a long time. They've gotten better recently. There's no offense. Eric Flowers is the worst tackle in the league. Chris Hubbard is way better than him. I think you'll agree with me.
Yeah, that offensive line is just really bad. They need an offensive line so bad.
I'm sure I could bring my roommate on here, or my old roommate, and he'll vent about it plenty, but it's a mess over there. And I think McAdoo will be fired soon, so I'm sure Giants fans can't wait for that. Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree got into a sparring match. It's not the first time we've had drama with those two guys. They were both suspended 2 games, and they were both reduced to 1 game. Do you have any thoughts on the fight?
Not on the fight specifically, but Jack Del Rio went on Twitter was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why this is unprecedented, this kind of suspension. Like, why did this happen? And I just thought he was an idiot. I was like, these two, they're like, it didn't happen for AJ Green and Jalen Ramsey. I'm like, you're stupid, because Jalen Ramsey and AJ Green was a role model. I mean, he still is in my mind. I love AJ Green, but the role model type player up until that point. Jalen Ramsey never done anything. Aqib Talib is known around the league as one of the league's probably dirtiest players. He's jabbed people in the eye. He's ripped the chain off of Michael Crabtree the first time, which initiated the fighting. And then the Michael Crabtree has gone at Akeem Talib, and then Jack Del Rio had like the audacity, like, this doesn't make sense. It's unprecedented. It's like, yeah, because these players are not first-time offenders. Like, these players are dirty-ish players. I wouldn't say Michael Crabtree is that dirty, only when it comes around Akeem Talib, but I don't know. I just thought it was stupid.
I have nothing to add. Austin, news from NFL.com. Giants owner, no guarantees Ben McAdoo's job is safe. Not exactly a vote of confidence. Justin Pugh, quote, offensive lineman on their team. Barring injury, I didn't see any way that Eli Manning wouldn't be our quarterback. He's out there taking scout team reps and not saying a word about it. Any team would want to have Eli Manning as their quarterback. Well, I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but I get what he's saying. So clearly the owners aren't happy about this, and clearly the team is not happy about it. So McAdoo's going to get canned. See ya.
Yeah.
I got nothing else to add. There's a couple other things you wanted to mention.
Rather small thing. Darren McFadden retired. I thought it was worth mentioning because for a little bit when he was a Raider, it looked like he might have been decent and he had decent stats, and then he just kind of fell off really quickly and became a third string. The Cowboys, but he retired. He's officially done, so I just wanted to mention that. And as you said earlier, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to make his first 49ers start on Sunday, so that's something interesting to watch out for. See if the Jimmy Garoppolo, the limited Jimmy Garoppolo we saw at New England translates to a very, very bad 49ers team.
Is there anything else you wanted to say then?
Yep, one more thing. The giveaway ends in 2 days from when this comes up, December 2nd. So you guys got to enter. It's the last minute. It's free. You can win a Ben Roethlisberger Funko Pop, which is just a little action figure kind of thing. They're really cool. They're collectible, and they're really nice looking. Funko Pop makes a really nice looking thing. And like you said, you just got to go to Gleam.io or Twitter, which will have a link to our Gleam.io, which is, if you look up Stronger Than Steel, Ben Roethlisberger Funko Pop giveaway, you'll find it. If you don't go to social media. It's very simple. All you got to be is subscribe to us on YouTube. You get an entry. If you visit our Instagram, you get an entry. Follow us on Twitter, you get an entry. It's really simple stuff. It's really easy stuff. And it's just do it. There's no other words to say. Just do it. 2 days left. You have a good chance. I think only, as of right now, 25 people
29.
entered, or 25 entered.
We have 29
What?
total. We have 29 total entries from, I believe, only 10 people. So.
Yeah. So, hey, you have a good chance. 10 people? There you go. Go enter.
Yeah, might as well. Alrighty. Austin, if there's anything else you want to say, I'm all set to wrap things up for tonight.
I'm done.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions you want to ask us or about the show, email us at strongerthansteelpodcast@gmail.com. Check us out on social media, as previously mentioned, to find out more information about the giveaway. We are on Twitter at @stronger_steel. We're on Instagram at @stronger_steel_NFL. Facebook at Stronger Than Steel Podcast. We post our episodes on YouTube, SoundCloud, and our website under the name Stronger Than Steel Podcast. And our website's URL, or I suppose web address, is strongerthansteelnfl.blogspot.com. Austin, thank you again for joining me tonight, and we'll be back soon for the Steelers preview of Monday Night Football, the Steelers' last road divisional game of the year against the hated Cincinnati Bengals and Vontaze Burfict. Alrighty, Austin, you have a good night, my friend.
Have a good night.
You have been listening to Stronger Than Steel Podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and don't forget to check out our website listed in the description below.